Assalamualaikum everyone, my name is Bassam Syed.
Yeah, you can cheer for him first. My name is Abraham, Javed.
Alright, so our topic today is called Deen and Democracy. So what does it mean to be a Muslim American in today's political climate? What is your political identity? What do you believe in? What do you stand for? How engaged are we in today's climate? It's kind of what we're going to be talking about in today's Deen and Democracy talk.
I don't like you all to refer to this tweet real quick. You're laughing right now, but please keep track of this tweet. Everyone bring this into your mind because it will somehow relate to my topic. Just give me a few moments.
According to Mufti Bank, Plain Jane has done more for Islam than Saudi Arabia. We have 3,860 retweets, 6,805 likes. I think I saw some of you all out there retweeting it. But this same guy is going to be, in a couple weeks, he'll be tweeting about, something woke, something cool. And, it's like, this is what we're dealing with, right? Some guy's making a poll about Plain Jane in Saudi Arabia. This is the same guy that claims, that he knows politics, he knows what he's talking about. So we'll get back to this. Maybe that was an important point he has to make, but keep this in mind.
I support it.
So Muslim complacency, what does it mean when we talk about Muslim complacency? Well, we're going to go through why is it that Muslims haven't been active in the political climate? Why are we where we are today? And why did it take Trump to get us to start thinking about our political reality? So pre 9/11, and I'm not going to speak for Black Muslim history because that has a long history of political activism that we cannot even begin to think about the effects of that and how much it helped later generations of minorities. But I'm going to speak about 15 years before 9/11 with the mass influx of immigrants from around the world. Basically, before 9/11, there wasn't much political activism among the general Muslim community. More of it was working, getting money, working for your family, supporting your family, trying to make money to send your kids to like a good college. So the focus wasn't on politics. It wasn't on how do we get involved. The focus was on survival and trying to get someone in this country. And then 9/11 happened. And that's when we turned into apologists, right? We went around, we apologized for something we had nothing to do with. People deemed us as terrorists. We were, in the general trend of American history, we were the group that was being isolated. It was Irish, it was German, it was Jews, it's us now. So we put our heads down, we said, we need to just focus on ourselves, go to school, work, come back home, avoid any type of political interaction with the media, etc. And then, 2008, a guy by the name of Barack Hussein Obama came, alright? And we were like, whoa, what's going on? This is kind of cool, right? We were like, I know his name now sounds like someone I know. He's like talking a lot, he's a great orator. But in reality, his politics really didn't do anything for us, right? He was still bombing Muslims abroad. He still had mass deportations, right? Of course, there were some things that universal healthcare, the initiative for that, things like that were really beneficial. But at the same time, it wasn't like we were a priority in his agenda. He only spoke at one mosque in Baltimore. So I don't think we were too much a part of that presidency. When we thought we were, right? We thought we were part of the Democratic Party. We thought we had a place, a role, a voice. But in reality, we really didn't mean anything. We were just another statistic, another minority that was tokenized to be used, right? And then the Trump era came along. And that was, I think, the biggest surprise to all of us, right? Him getting elected. We didn't see it coming. We assumed that people cared enough about us to where he wouldn't get elected. But in reality, that didn't really work out how we wanted it to, right? And that's whenever we decided, we gotta wake up a little bit. Like, like, this is actually serious, right? Whenever they don't let Muslims come into the country, things like that, and then you're like, wow, this stuff is actually affecting me. And that's when we started to become a little less complacent. So now, Abrahim's going to talk about his first-hand experience with the Muslims on the campaign trail.
So 5 days from now, 1 year ago, on March 6, 2018, I had a very rough night. I had driven from Austin to Houston to see my father. Men known to the communities as Syed Javed, but to me as one of the more inspirational men of Pakistani descent to ever step foot in America. And I'm not just saying this because this recording will make its way to Beaumont, but I'm saying this because I sincerely mean it, and for what is about to come. So my father was running an election in Texas's 29th congressional district, comprised of Pasadena, South Houston, and much of the North Shore. He came up short. Now, why did he come up short, you may ask? Well, we deserve better. That was his message as he traveled across Houston, South Houston, Pasadena, North Shore, trying to talk to people, very like-minded people who you wouldn't expect him to talk to. He was going to churches, he was going to homes of elderly. And of all the demographics he tried to connect with, the one that he had the most time struggling with were the Muslims. In the Muslim spheres, shout out to the Islamic Society of Greater Houston, that we adorably call ISGH, because they weren't really around when push came to shove. Muslims are some of the quickest people, whether that means all of us in this room, whether that's me or Bassam, to complain. And we're entitled to do so. We should always complain. We should keep complaining. But whenever you actually have the responsibility, and that responsibility I'm alluding to is civic engagement, it's now a privilege, and you have to engage in civic engagement in order to keep complaining and actually having those complaints addressed. So, what I want to reference this campaign for was not just to have a shameless plug of my last name, but was to make a point. And when he found out that I was going to reference this, he sent me a really long text. And now I feel obligated to go off, as he said. So he told me that, according to my most recent Google search, there are about 3.45 to 4 million Muslims in America. Now, I'm not a government major like Bassam, but last time I Googled, there are 435 elected seats in the House of Representatives. I'm not going to use the Senate for this, because that would make my point even easier. So if you divide 4 million into 435, you get about, let's say 3.45 to 4, let's get a range. 8 to 10,000 Muslims in every congressional district. We're going to act like New York and skew these results all the way to the other side. Let's just assume there's 10,000 Muslims in every congressional district. So in his campaign, the final election results, only 18,000 people voted in the primary. 18,000 people. You know how many people are in the 29th district? 770,000. So that means only 18,000 people show up to vote on the primary day. And let's say there was 8 to 10,000 Muslims showed up today. What do you think is going to happen? I'll tell you what happens. Dr. Javed doesn't go home walking with his head down. He walks into the congressional halls, hands held high, looking at every Islamophobic senator, congresswoman, congressman, and he holds them accountable. Because Muslims showed up, and Muslims got someone that will keep them relevant to this political sphere in America. So I want to keep going. Well, not what we were doing in March 2018. Let's get to November 2018. So, the first two Muslim congresswomen to ever be elected, Representative Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib, from their respective states of Minnesota and Michigan. It was like a circus for all of us. Muslims all around America were hyped, they were celebrating, and we were all ready to see what they do for us, right? And if you think about it, but we also had this guy, no one knows who he is sitting here probably, but he's he's the second Muslim to be elected, Representative Andre from Indiana. But that proves my point even more that you didn't even know he existed until today. Because there's only 3 people in the House of Representatives who are Muslim, but it's beyond the point. So, what I'm trying to get at is that these congressmen and congresswomen are now not only tokenized as the only Muslims in the Congress that represent us, but they're even regulated. I don't know if any of you have been keeping up with the news lately, but the entirety of America was pissed off at Representative Ilhan for coming against the lobby, which, as she was justified in doing so. But maybe yesterday I was going through my Instagram feed and the Speaker of the House was now posing for the Rolling Stone with her. So that raises the question, are we actually going anywhere with these people in Congress? Are we actually going to do anything to help them by voting?
So I think we can call it the Democratic dilemma. The fact that Ilhan Omar criticized AIPAC, a pro-Israeli lobby, for the huge amount of donations that they're giving to politicians, to influence what they say, to have control over what they say. The minute she said that, every single sitting U.S. House of Representatives, every representative, every senator attacked her, right? Calling her anti-Semitic, baseless attacks on what she had said. So what does that tell us? That even when we think we've gotten into the establishment and we've won on behalf of the Democratic Party, really, where do they lie in seeing our value? What do they think of us? So how do we develop a recognizable political identity? And I think it's important that we learn from Ilhan Omar because she took a bold step in calling that lobby out, right? And that's part of her political identity. And it should be a part of our political identity as Muslims to call out what we see as injustice to Islam and to what we believe in, right? We believe that AIPAC is not just, right? We believe that what they stand for is not just. So what's holding us back from making statements in the media and the press, among lawmakers? And it's because we don't have access to people who will allow us to voice our opinions. So this requires work and collaboration and asking the tough questions, right? How do we create a Muslim political identity? It's not going to be, oh, I'm a Muslim Democrat, right? It doesn't matter what party we're in if we don't know where our morals lie, right? If we don't know what policies are good for our community, it doesn't matter if you're Democrat or Republican. And so it requires collaboration, right? We have to talk to scholars, we have to get scholars involved, we have to get community leaders involved, we have to talk to college students, and it's not easy. This is something that we're way behind in. We have, I know I was speaking to this individual who hasn't announced that he's running for Congress yet, but inshallah he will. His name is Umar Khalid. I'm sure some of you all have heard of him. He's a little out there, he's a funny guy, but he's really cool. But what he's saying is, like, whenever he walks in to a Democrat, like a meeting, a Democratic Party meeting, he becomes a token Muslim, right? They ask him, oh, what does your community need? What do you love Muslims, et cetera, et cetera. But in reality, he knows that after that meeting, they're not going to care about him at all. Like, his opinion really doesn't matter because he doesn't have any support, right? No other Muslims are coming to those meetings. He's the one guy that comes out and is trying his best to represent his views. And so once we gain our identity, we can increase our influence, right? So we can make impact on foreign policy. We have white lawmakers deciding what's best for situations in the Middle East, right? We have white lawmakers deciding what's best in Africa. We have white lawmakers deciding what is best in Asia. We have lawmakers who have never experienced the culture trying to decide what's better for those regions when we have so much influence, we have so much connections to those places. So yeah, I think it's important that we don't develop our power on this preconceived notion that a party line, our party is best for us. We have to develop our own institutions, our own thoughts and ideas as Muslim Americans. So what we need, like, this is a very practical slide that I want everyone to read. We need people running for offices, and I'm not just talking about senators or House representatives, I'm talking about local elections, right? Getting on the library board, getting on a school board, working on community projects. And that doesn't require you to get a law degree. It doesn't require you to work in public policy. This can be done, like, anyone can do this. It's not hard. You can go into City Hall right now and say, I want to speak for 2 minutes, right? I find this issue of Palestine really important to me, and I want to speak about it to City Hall for 2 minutes. But we don't do it because we don't know about it, and we're scared that they're going to say something, right? We're not unapologetic. We need people working in campaigns. How else are we going to learn how to get to Congress, right? How else are we going to learn how to get into these situations? Raise your hand if you've done door knocking here. 3, 4, 5. Okay. So yeah, we can work on that a little bit. No one here probably knows how you door knock, how you go up to a random person and talk about your political opinions. Media, we need people in the media, we need journalists, things like that to advocate for us. You know, whenever Ilhan Omar said that, AIPAC went directly to its media, it's partnered with CNN, right? They fund CNN, they have sent money there, and automatically, stories are written about her all over the news. We can talk about Mark Hill, right? He was fired by CNN the minute he made those comments. We need advocates, right? We need advocates for the disabled. We need advocates for Muslim children in schools. We need advocates for things like that. Lobbyists. We need people lobbying on behalf of Muslims. Engage is one example of a group that does lobbying, but we need it on a bigger scale. Donors, people, you always need your money, right? Political campaigns always need your money. A well-informed and engaged voting electorate, keep up with the news, stay updated, develop our political identity. Who are we as Muslims? We have to start asking the questions, right? What defines ours? How can we fit our Islam? How can we fit democracy into our Islam, right? Islam and then democracy. How do we fit our country's government, our policies and things like that to where we can have our Islamic identity and democratic identity merge into one? And last, and I think most importantly, is to be unapologetic and passionate about our deen and democracy. So not to deny one or the other, but instead to merge them. Because Islam calls for social justice, right? This is a requirement. We have to stand up for the oppressed, for the poor, the orphans, the widows, those who don't have anything, the beggars, right? So for me, it's very simple. Like we are required by our religion to be advocates for justice, to stand up for those who don't have any rights. And I think if we use that as a guiding principle, we can really make moves this coming election cycle.
Inshallah. And another thing I wanted to add was, if you go back to Vera's table, I love her talk about Bassam. So if you go back to that table she brought up, right? So think about it as this. If we want to be at that table, we actually have to go out and be those 10,000 Muslims like I referenced before and vote, right? It's really hard. I'm just saying it like philosophically up here. Like, we failed at it, right? Like, I've successfully failed at trying to get Muslims to vote. But that doesn't mean that all of us together can't try to achieve that later on, right? It's a very easy thing to do. I think Muslims as a whole, like, we're good people. We just need to remind each other that we're desensitized when we get out there and put in our effort. And another thing I wanted to touch on was that a lot of Muslims are always really quick to jump on to criticism about where foreign policy is in America, right? And they should be, like I said before, always complain because America's probably not doing things right whenever you are. But if you want to feed Yemen, if you want to free Palestine, if you want to reprimand China, if you want to protect Syria, if you want to help those people in Burma who are still refugees going to Bangladesh, if you want to help people in Sudan right now, you can't do it without having a seat at that big, awesome table that Abraham mentioned before, right? And right now we have 3 seats at that table. And those 3 seats are having a really hard time. The news doesn't show it, but it's really hard to be that Hijabi Muslim congresswoman that Fatima talked about before. Because there's a lot of threats she gets behind the scenes that aren't put in the news. Because we're tokenized that we're the first Muslims, but no one talks about the struggle to be a Muslim. Like she talked about with her praying Imams earlier, right? No one talks about Ilhan facing side comments from the white senator she walks with in the halls of the Capitol as she's going to cast a vote. No one talks about how Rashida has to be one of the only Palestinian people in DC, let alone America, trying to talk about issues that are important to her. And they can't complain, because once they complain, people will just sit there in office for the publicity. So that's where we need to stand up and try to give them support. Because look at the statistics. I'm not going to call it the other 2 religions, but we are so behind. Like, it's frustrating when you look at the stats. So if Muslims make up about 1.1 to 1.5% of the population of America, we're doing a terrible job equating that in politics. We're not even 0.5% of the elected officials in Congress. We don't even have a senator. We're not going to talk about that. There's 100 senators. We should have at least one that's Muslim, right? We don't. And why did we wait until 2019 to have like us to who have no credibility to talk about this, right? This is a sad thing, but I think we could achieve it if all of us stop banking on people who are already in those positions to do it themselves. We need to have more campaign managers, like Bernie's campaign manager is Muslim now, right? That's a bigger step, and I'd argue that could be almost bigger than being a congresswoman. If you're thinking, he's shifting the policy of someone who's potentially going to be president. So we need people in the grassroots work, we need people in local government, talking to our sheriffs, the police, because that's a whole other subject. But we need people to be active in all facets of the political sphere in America. Otherwise, we're just going to never have a seat at that table, we're never going to eat that food that's at the table, and we're just going to always be fasting. So let's always keep in mind that we can all take these little steps to do it, because this is the religion of the Prophet ﷺ, and a lot of our deen, our spirituality, we're told that it comes in small steps, right? So we shouldn't be intimidated by the harder goal of, as the fastest growing religion in America, trying to achieve equality in the government. We shouldn't be intimidated. We can achieve this, inshallah. But we need to go small, take the small steps, right from local to state to national. And inshallah, one day, maybe our children will feel comfortable talking about what they can believe in.